Hi everybody. Today we're going to talk about how as a parent and as a student you start to pick and choose among different college options. Now we talked yesterday, the Common Application just opened up, so kids and students and parents are scrambling around figuring out what colleges should they apply to. So I hope this is relevant for you. And before I jump too far in case you're new to this video, if you're here live or even seeing this in an after post, I'm Phil Black. I run an online mentoring company called PrepWell Academy, where I help coach, mentor, and guide rising freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors to make smart decisions about high school, about college majors, about life in general, and about careers. Now, I'm a former Navy SEAL, a Goldman Sachs investment banker. I went to Yale and Harvard Business School. I'm an entrepreneur, been on Shark Tank. I'm currently a firefighter. I'm married. I have 4 kids going through this exact process. So this particular time, we're going to talk about how to choose among or between colleges. So most people, there's different ways to research colleges and to track them and to figure out what's your target list of schools. So of course in PrepWell Academy we go through all that, and we give kids videos, and they come up with a nice system on picking, let's say it's 10 colleges, but just for argument's sake, let's say it's 3 colleges that they've picked, just to make it a little bit easier to talk about different options. Let's say they have 3 colleges and they're trying to pick which one. You know, some have things that they really love and other ones they don't love as much. So to break it down and make it at least simple for this presentation, let's say that there's 3 colleges. So you draw the 3 colleges across the top, and then you write along the left-hand column what factors are you considering when it comes to your college education. So one of them might be finances. One of them might be what you want to major in. One of them might be how big the school is. One of them might be how close to home it is, the proximity, what state it's in, what part of the country it's in. So you line up all of these factors on the side, and then for each of those different colleges, you grade the college on how well it suits that particular factor. So college 1 might be, let's say you're close to home, and it might be, no, it's very far away. So that would be a 1 out of 10. It would be very low on the close to home proximity gauge. And then let's say another factor was, it has my major. So maybe if it does have your major and it's a really good major in a good department, that might get a 10 out of 10. Great. So you give that a 10. And you go through this process with all the different factors, and you start to get an idea of where the different colleges fall. In fact, you can even add up all the numbers for each of those factors and add up, well, this got a 1 for proximity and a 10 for major and a 3 for faith-based, and it got, well, I want to have a Greek system, so this college had one or didn't have one. So you add up all those numbers across all 3 schools, and then you compare those numbers at the bottom, and you basically figure out which college had a higher number grading. And presumably the one that had the higher scores, or that had that was more suitable to each of those factors, they would maybe be the best choice. But I like to go one step further, and I call this creating a weight, putting a weight on the different factors. So for instance, let's take 3 factors. One is proximity, one is faith-based college, and the other one is whether or not it has the major that you're interested in. So you can go through that exercise that I just talked about, and you can add those columns up and compare the different college scores and figure out which one's higher and which one's lower. But you could then take it the next level, because sometimes there's not that much difference in the numbers. It's like a 17, a 16, and a 15. That doesn't really give you that much differentiation. So in order to do that, what I like to tell my PrepWellers to do is to go back into that spreadsheet and actually assign a weight to each of those factors. So what do I mean by that? Well, instead of just grading how well the school meets that particular factor, how much do you care about that factor? So let's say this a faith-based factor. Do you care whether the school has a faith-based component? If you really care, then you multiply that by 10. That's the weighted factor. Let's say it's a college major. If you're a little bit wishy-washy and you're not really sure, you don't really care that much about the major, then maybe you give that a weighting of a 2, meaning you could go to a school without your special major and it would still be okay. So it doesn't have that much weight in your eyes. And you do that through the whole process. So you're basically not just adding up how the schools are matching up with these different factors, but you're matching up how much you care about the factors. Why should you weight all of these different factors equally? Why should whether the school has vegan food in the dining hall be as important as the financial cost of that school? If you look at it in scenario 1, you're not really taking into account how much you care about the factors. You're just figuring out how much does the school suit the factor, but taking it the next step is how much do I care about the factors? And that's a conversation that you have to have with yourself and the student has with their parents. And you literally go through and you say, faith-based school, how much do I care between 1 and 10? Well, I care a lot. I'm going to give that a weighting of 9. All right, proximity. How much do you care how close you are to home? I don't care that much. I'm going to give that a 2. And then you go to whether they have a Greek system. I'm middle of the road. I don't care that much, but it would be cool if they had it. You give it a 5. You give it a middle of the road weighting. And when you do that, all of a sudden the shape of the colleges change a little bit, and you look down and you add those numbers up. So now you have a weighted average of the score that each of those schools get. And I've had many PrepWellers where that's a deal changer, because when you factor in how much you care about the factors, it changes the whole landscape, as opposed to just adding up those numbers based on how the schools are suitable to those different factors. I hope that's not too confusing. It's basically adding another layer on there and getting a weighted average of your interest in the different factors to come up with a different schematic, a different system to try to come down to what schools you might be interested. This is also helpful if you have 30 schools and you're trying to cut it back to 10 schools. You can go through this process and cut down how many schools you're going to apply to. So if you're interested in this and topics like this, please visit us at PrepWell Academy. If you're interested in goal setting, we have a great goal setting worksheet for you and your student, prepwellacademy.com/P/goals. If you have somebody who you think might be interested in this, if they're in the middle of trying to figure out which colleges to apply to, send them this, share this with them, tag them in this so this will pop up. And I do this every day. I sit out here and I try to give you a little bit of information as a service to you in the PrepWell community that I hope is going to be helpful. Tomorrow we'll talk about something else. If you have a topic that you're particularly interested in, please put it in the comments below. I read all the segments. In fact, today's episode is by way of a question that one of our interested moms had, and I thought I'd talk if that particular woman had this question, maybe other people have that question also. She's battling through that with some of her kids. So I hope this has been helpful. Share the message with your friends. We'd love to have more people live, and we'd love to have more people in the PrepWell community. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you again tomorrow.